as soon as I've just found my copy of the agenda, which I've just buried. So first of all, Sue, can we take apologies for absence, please?
We've got apologies from Vince Holloway and Maurice Johns.
Okay. Any others? Anyone else got any apologies to convey? Can we record those, please?
I can't hear you terribly well, Mark. I don't know why.
Okay, I shall play with my microphone. Should be okay. It's normally it's my standard one. Right, I'm going to speak up a little bit and keep going. So item number 2 is declarations of interest in items on the agenda. And we cover this normally with the dispensations. Have there been any dispensation requests received, Sue?
No.
You've circulated the rules for that, which is very helpful. Thank you for doing that. And just to be very clear, I am going to declare an interest on item, look at the right thing. Sorry, item number 7. But I'll be potentially speaking, but I won't be voting. Okay, anyone else wish to declare any interest on anything? If not, I'm going to carry on. So item number 3, to confirm the minutes of the meeting held on the 4th of March. Are they an accurate record of the meeting, please? Everyone happy? Great, thank you. Just missing a few more members of the public. Item number 4, to note the resignation of Anne Reed and action be taken to fulfill the vacancy. So Anne has been a councillor on the parish for quite some time. She's been a very helpful member of the parish council, and I just want to say thank you for all she's done for us. And her vacancy, the vacancy has been advertised. The election was not called, therefore we're going to move on to a potential co-option. And the suggestion is that there would be up for consideration at our May meeting. Is that okay, everyone? Thank you very much. In addition, we're going to move on to item number 5, to note the resignation of John Durham and the action being taken to fill the vacancy. So John has only been on the parish council a short while, and it's a great shame he's resigned. I do want to thank him for his service to the parish council. So that is, the notice is up now for a potential election. And I think it's the 14th of April.
12th.
Or 12th of April, sorry. So, right, okay. So we'll look at that next time round. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sue. Right, going to move on to item number 6, the public open session, when we've got 15 minutes available if anyone wants to speak. And I think we've had a couple of people that have indicated. And I think the first person who sent in a request was Mike Barlow.
Yeah, I've unmuted. I've asked him to unmute.
Can you see Mike? Oh, there's Mike, top right hand corner on my screen.
I've asked him to unmute.
Yeah, great. Okay, Mike, over to you, please.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, perfect.
Good.
Oh, sorry, apologies. Are we recording?
Yes, we are. We agree.
And it is recording now, to be clear. Right, sorry, thank you. Sorry, Mike, apologies.
Okay, where do we start? So, look, party political warning time. So I will be bringing party politics into this. Until the Lib Dems stop acting with a block vote at parish council level, it's that kind of behaviour that makes these meetings party political, not individual parishioners like me. But it looks like the Lib Dem contingent are still supporting Route E. They're encouraging us to respond to a consultation that basically gives us 2 options. It's like saying, do you want the electric chair or do you want lethal injection? You have promoted this route, Route E. Your mayor has pursued this for years. Your party were doing cartwheels and celebrating fantastic lobbying to get what you wanted. I guess sometimes one needs to be careful what one wishes for. The negative impact of Route E that we've seen in the latest consultation that was issued yesterday is entirely on the Mayor, Councillor Headley, and you, Councillor Deputy Mayor Royden. You are the portfolio holder for the environment and transport, and yet you have been conspicuous by your silence. If Route E is so great, why have you not been shouting it from the rooftops like Councillor Headley? Councillor Headley has been busy overselling the tiny economic benefit. And I hope those calculations are going to be recalculated in the light of the devastating news yesterday, because 97 families are at risk of being impacted. 97 families are at risk of losing their homes. I wonder if that £36 per year economic growth for Bedford per individual still stands up for them. I wonder if they see that as being a benefit. Why have you not been representing the interests in your role as the transport portfolio holder of your constituents by explaining the impact and the massive disruption of building a railway through an urban environment? When we've asked about it, there has been no response. We've just been getting sound bites and marketing rubbish from EWR that's just regurgitated, that is actually based on little substance. Yes, the infrastructure projects cause disruption. It's just something we've got to accept. Well, no, we haven't got to accept it. Why does it come as a surprise to you, especially you as the transport portfolio holder and the mayor, that an urban rail investment means disruption? Disruption means destroying buildings, moving roads, causing a decade of reworking, moving bridges, but most importantly, demolishing homes and ruining lives. Yes, homes and lives. You spent 75 grand of public money with Kilburn from 2018 to 2020 on railway projects. For what? To tell you what you wanted to hear? I'd have charged you a lot less than that. Either you knew, because these experts would have told you, that people's homes were at risk, in which case you've pursued this route E in spite of that and not communicated effectively with your constituents, or you've ridden roughshod over that, or you didn't know, in which case you could argue that that's bordering on negligence, incompetence. You know, it just beggars belief. I spoke, there was a lady called me today from the Poets Estate, an old lady. She's lived there since 1986. Her daughter and her granddaughter also own houses. The three of them have houses that are at risk. Her granddaughter also has a daughter. That is 4 generations in 3 houses that are going to be impacted by this. I genuinely don't know how you lot sleep. You need to find something of more substance to say about it rather than just the sound bites that EWR feed you with, because it's a disgrace. The parish council last time out voted to support the northern parishes in fighting Route E. I believe today you've had a letter from the Be Fair group, which is the group of the northern parishes, asking you to put your public money where your constituents' mouths are. There's a request for £200 to cover expenses of running the campaign, and there is a contribution towards the legal expense of taking legal advice to pursue a judicial review. The other parishes are pretty unanimously putting in £1,000 each for that. They're doing that through a not-for-profit, limited by guarantee company, so that would limit any liability on behalf of the parish council and mean that they wouldn't have to carry any liability. I suggest you vote to fund that. I suggest you do it tonight. I suggest Councillor Royden isn't allowed to inject any more delays and procrastination than he already has. You've voted to support it, and I expect you to demonstrate that support. You also have a mayoral meeting lined up to discuss the East West Rail. I believe it's 12th of April. I might be wrong with that, but I believe it's 12th of April. The other parish councils have also been invited to those meetings, and they are choosing to make that meeting open to the public so that their constituents can voice their concerns to the mayor directly and make it heard. We expect the same. We expect the same courtesy to be extended to your constituents. It isn't a closed meeting. The other parish councils have asked the same. So I also suggest you take this message back to your mayor. The town and the rural part of the borough, which represents 1/3 of the borough's voting population, expect you to challenge EWR Route E. They expect you to go back to EWR and say that there is a straighter, flatter, shorter route that's available that follows an existing transport corridor, one that doesn't destroy the environment, doesn't destroy people's homes and people's lives for a spurious economic gain that must now have been evaporated. The consultation for a better route needs to be back checked and reopened, and it needs doing now.
Thank you, Mike. Can we move on, please? To have another resident has requested to speak, I believe. Sue?
Yeah, Glenn. I'm just going to find him on the list. I'll ask him to unmute. There you go. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening.
Hi there, Glenn. I can hear you. Do you want to speak, please? Do you want to comment?
Yeah, certainly. So apologies, I've only just finished some work, so I'm very late to arriving. So firstly, I think thank you very much that the letter rescinding Brickhill Parish Council's support for ET has been sent out. One question though, the original letter that was sent out to support it, who was it signed by?
Clark.
Sorry?
The Clark, by
Okay.
Sue Bottoms, our Clark.
No, that's fine. No, I was just checking that. Okay. The other, just a couple of other points. So in last month's meeting, it became very clear that when the support was given to Route E, there was no consultation taken. What I found really appalling, about 5 minutes after we'd all finished speaking, the piece on BPHA, where Councillor Royden berating the fact that there had been no consultation with the councillors. So why is it acceptable not to consult your parishioners and the members of your wards about supporting something that's going to devastate lives, and then in the same meeting complaining vigorously about no consultation? It's just yet more hypocrisy from certain councillors here. And you can put your face as much as you like, Mark, but it's true. Okay. Also as well, so picking up on the back of Mike's, it's not going to be party political. It is. Because I have written to Councillor Stephen Moon, the leader of the Labour group as well. They said, yes, in general, they were supportive of the railway, not the specific routes. So, again, I want the parish councillors to rescind everything that they have been saying. It doesn't have full support of every council member and every party on the route, on Route E. And it's propaganda being perpetrated. I'm sorry, Mr. Fitzgerald, but can you stop pulling your face? You're obviously bored with this, I realise.
No, not at all, not at all, no. Sorry, apologies, Glenn. Please carry on. I'm listening, and I may just want to comment briefly on what you said. Just to be, from a parish point of view, I do want to comment on what you said, if that's okay. Please carry on. Do you want to go now? Well, just to say, just to be very clear, the parish's letter in 2019 was absolutely was a very straightforward letter, and it said we supported the northern routes of either D or E, and a couple of comments about it, but that's all it said. It didn't comment about what any other people anywhere else had said about the route.
I never said that. What I was saying was about the fact that Councillor Royden in the last meeting was saying it had full backing from all parties.
Okay. Well, I can only comment about what the parish council has formally agreed. Okay, so that's my simplistic perspective on it. And so please understand people may have other views on, maybe expressing their views in different ways, but the parish council's formal position was essentially back in 2019 was a very straightforward 1 paragraph, 2 sentence type letter. And I think our letter this time is of a similar nature, but the last letter we've just sent to say we withdraw that support, or whatever, rescind that support.
Rescind your support.
Yeah, was basically of a similar. It was of a similar nature to what we said before, but in a different, obviously in a different direction.
Yeah, I realise. Yes, I've read the rescinded report. So
yeah. So that's my only comment. Trying to make it clear. I mean, I appreciate people making comments on different aspects, but in terms of what the parish council has said or has done, it's very limited to what we said last time, and again, it's sort of limited to what we've agreed in our meeting in February and our meeting in March.
Yeah, I understand that, but as I said, those were the comments that were made. Okay. And also as well, with the letters that were sent by certain councillors, it was ambiguous. It was, we are councillors in, we're parish councillors in Brickhill, I think was the opening line, and councillors. Now, most people will read that as here's our full support. And again, picking up on Mike's point, you are going down a route which your parishioners and your voters are not supporting, haven't supported. And either that letter is made very clear, and so again, withdrawn and republished, saying as citizens or as residents of Brickhill, we support this railway line straight through our front yard, through our front garden. I think the mention of being councillors within Brickhill, both borough councillors and parish councillors, gives an indication of the support. We realise there is full support from the big yellow machine, but your residents don't support this. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Okay, so we're on to, we actually have a couple of minutes spare. If there's anybody else from members of the public who wish to speak, we have a couple of minutes. If you do wish to speak, can you indicate to the clerk? If not, I'm going to move on if that's okay. So thank you very much indeed. So I'm moving on to item number 7. To note the action re East West Rail following the March Parish Council meeting and agreeing further action. And obviously things have moved on somewhat in terms of we've now got this official consultation.
Sorry, can we just stop a minute? There is somebody, Babs Ray, who has flagged up wishing to speak. So I think perhaps we need to just go back.
So yes. I know Babs is the resident of Clapham, and I guess I'm looking for, we normally restrict meetings to the members.
So I don't know. Do we ask?
I know Babs. I know Babs is a resident of Clapham.
Right.
So I would just ask forbearance, Babs. Please, you can contact us separately, individually, but typically these meetings are for residents of Brickhill Parish to speak if they wish to talk to the parish council. Okay. So item 7, note the action taken following the last meeting and agreeing further action. As I say, we know the official consultation is launched yesterday. Paula, you want to come in here? Sorry, do you want to come off mute? Apologies. Let's do this.
Yeah, the letter's gone, Mark. Can you confirm, please, that East West Rail have acknowledged receipt of it? Because we've not heard that they have.
They haven't.
So, Sue, you can confirm the letter has been sent to them?
Yes, the letter went, but we've not had any confirmation from them. Equally, though, we didn't have any previously. So.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And sorry, Paula, do you have any further follow-up questions on that, or?
I was just a bit confused of the wording, so I just wanted to be really clear that the letter from 2019 said that we supported route D and E, or E. This letter that went just recently rescinded support of E, and I just would like a point of clarification that the parish council is against D and E. Just as a point of note, really, just because I wasn't clear.
I think we were trying to reflect the motion that was put forward at the meeting, but in essence, I think I understand your point. It's sort of, yeah, it's reasonable to say the tone of the meeting last time round was to that effect of withdrawing, with rescinding our previous letter, which logically covered D and E, and by extension, therefore, when we would rescind that applies to both D and E. So I think my take on that is it's reasonable to say yes, it should have said both D and E to be fair. Yeah. So apologies for that, Paula.
And finally, just as a question, in the public section, when people come through the doors at the church meetings, we don't ask them where they live. I'm just wondering what the reason is really to not hear what Babs has got to say in the public section. I don't know what would be lost by hearing what he had to say.
Yeah, it's a fair question. Put it this way, we've very rarely had any meetings where we've had a surplus of people wishing to come along and talk. So normally we are within the 15 minutes that have been allocated. It's just that this time we were quite close to the limit anyway. And I just feel, you know, primarily it's here. This is for Brickhill residents. But Sue may want. Do you want to comment on that, Sue, at all?
Mark, you need to. I think you need to be quite clear here that you need to end when the public session ends. You need to make it clear that it's ended and it becomes a parish council meeting that's observed. So I don't think you really made that clear earlier on, because I can see somebody else with their hand up, and I think it would be reasonable to allow Sally, whoever that is, and I think you would have to allow Babs to speak, and then that is the end of that, because otherwise it could just carry on.
Well, I did say so we were approaching, you know, we were approaching the 15. We were within about 1 minute of the 15 minutes when I queried, was anyone else wishing to speak? So we were up, you know, we were right up to the boundary of our 15-minute allotted period.
Would we not extend that if the public have taken time to come and present to the council?
I'm happy. Okay, I'm in the hands of the parish here. The council, if they wish to extend by another 5 minutes, say. My only wish on this is, I appreciate this is an opportunity for people to raise issues which are dear to their hearts. My only wish, and it's an opportunity which is, you know, great people seize it. My wish is to try and focus on what we as a parish council are doing and can do. So,
but maybe some of the public time was taken up earlier. Maybe that's
okay. All right. Can we? Are we happy to allow? We've got Babs and we've got Sally. And can I ask the two of you then? We'll take the two of you, and then we're going to formally end the public open session, and then we'll move on to. I thought I moved into item 7. I thought I declared item 7 started, but if we're happy to restart item 7 after that, we'll do that.
Mark, Alistair has also got his hand up, so I think I would suggest go Sally, Babs Ray, then Alistair. Yep.
Okay. But Alistair, as a parish council, will be part of the parish council meeting, not the public open session.
Yeah, that's
public.
True.
Yeah.
So I'll ask Sally to unmute.
You want Sally first, do you?
Well, okay. I'm just going down the list as the two people are.
Okay.
Don't get matters really, does it?
Okay. Right. Doesn't look like Sally to me.
Hi, it's Sally and Mark Olatugi here.
Okay. Oh yeah, hello.
So yeah, hello. Yeah, I'd just like to point out that, not trying to make it political again, but I think in light of all the comments and the sort of backing of the routine and the flyers we've had through the door, which appear to be sort of your average sort of newspaper article, but actually they're all published by the Lib Dems. There's been no rescinding of routine and no publishing of the rescinding of routine by the Lib Dems in their focus letters or in the bulletins. So I'd like to ask Ryder, and anybody else in the Lib Dem party who's represented on this parish council, what are they doing to rescind that in the public eye?
Well, first of all, I would ask everyone to be courteous to each other.
I am being absolutely courteous.
But
you have been publishing, lobbying, manifesting, and I'm just asking you to rescind what you've done in the press. Let me talk, because it's my time to talk.
Sure.
I would like
just say you've just called two of the
sorry, I'm talking. Let me talk, please.
You've called two people by their surname and not by a courtesy title, and I just think that's it didn't come across to me as being a very courteous way of addressing people. And I'm trying to be courteous.
Mr. Ryden, Mrs. Ryder, obviously elected by Christine Mayhew, who is the wife of Dave Hodgson, who is politically placing people within the parishes, who has been canvassing the parishes, who has made no mention of consultation or the route in his canvassing, and has shown the support of these two people within the parish, has had no mention of the rescinding the letter in any of the published leafleting materials that he puts through people's doors. I would ask, as a mark of respect to the people and the borough of Brickhill, that they rescind the letter in the published materials so that everybody sees but the parish council is not backing the route. I think that's a fair ask.
Very much. Thank you.
Right, shall I ask Babs to unmute?
Mr. Wright. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Thank you. First point, Mark. You seem to obviously know a lot about me and where I live. I'm actually sat in my house in 96 Curlew Crescent, right?
Oh.
Which is in Brickhill.
Oh, sorry, my apologies. I thought when
Okay.
you commented before, you were talking about the Carriage Drive thing. On previous...
Okay, no, I have two houses. I have one in
Oh,
Clapton and I
okay.
have one in Curlew Crescent. Okay?
Well, my apologies. I withdraw my... I'm sorry.
Okay.
My apologies, right?
The second thing is the reason I couldn't contact you guys because you've disabled the chat, so I can't say I want to speak. And if you noticed, I hit a reaction to try and get my hand up, but I actually hit the clap button by mistake. Okay, so there was apologies on that. That's my fault.
That's fine. It's fine. There's all this technology. It's a great, you know, we're all learning, aren't we?
So my first point is, why is the chat disabled? Because that's that should be open so that everybody can make comments against whoever's speaking. Okay, so people can see that and people can either support it or disagree with it. This is basically you're censoring the discussion. Okay, that's the second point. The third point is, at the last meeting, we agreed to do a consultation, and then all of a sudden we've heard that we're not doing that, we're just going to resign the vote. I'd like to know the reasons why that, because I think the consultation still go ahead so that we can get all of the parish informed, so we can get an informed decision by everybody, not just the 180 people that people were saying. The next point is, Stuart, I don't really know what his surname is, but he was one of the councillors saying that the people objecting to EWR Route E don't want Route E coming into Bedford, which is absolute tosh. Everybody wants the train to come into Bedford on the Bletchley line and come into Bedford and then go out through St John's on the old Varsity line. That's what we want. The Midland Main Line crosses the Bletchley line near the Interchange Retail Park. There was people on last calls that wanted a station at Wixham. Where those two lines cross is the perfect place to have a station, a new station with car parking, etc., which would be the most common sense, logical solution. And I cannot believe that any of you would think otherwise. Okay, so that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Babs. And the reason why the chat is disabled is because in previous meetings there's been some very, I would call it abusive messages being added in that chat, very inappropriate messages for a public meeting of this nature. If this is basically a virtual meeting, which is replacing what we would normally do in the church hall, and the sort of comments which we made, I think would not be acceptable in that sort of format.
No, Mark, you're censoring the discussion. Okay, it's a free speech and people need to say what they need to say. So you cannot censor the discussion. If somebody wants to say something, whether it's discourteous or not, that's how people feel. And they need to be in the firing line for that. They need to justify their comments and their decisions. And by you turning the chat off is censoring the discussion. I completely disagree with it.
And all right, and obviously I hear your comments about the location of, the question of whether it can go out in Varsity line, and I know there's information being circulated about that. So thank you. And it is a view which a number of people have expressed, and it has been looked into, and for whatever reason it's been ruled out, as you probably are aware.
Well, it needs to be reviewed, doesn't it?
And we have been trying to find out why that wasn't properly explained as to why they wouldn't consider the Varsity line route. So,
okay. Well, it needs to be reviewed.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks, Babs. And my apologies again for
thank you for letting me speak.
Not lying. Right, thank you. All right. So that's the end of the public open session. We're gonna move on to item 7, which Paul has already had comments about the letter we sent last time. Alistair is wishing to speak, I believe. Mick, you're also indicating. Can I take Alistair first, please? You're on mute, Mick. I can't hear you. Alistair did indicate.
Yeah,
first.
I know it's a technicality.
Okay. The technicality.
Yeah. I just want to say, someone's just told me they're trying to get in, and they're still in the waiting room.
Yeah, I can't see anybody else on my list.
Oh, right.
So I don't know, unless Mark can see people.
No, there's nobody in the waiting room. Nick.
98 people are in,
Right,
and they're all in.
Now. He's in now. He's just said
Oh,
he's
is
in.
it? Right, okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Alistair, I can't see you, so
I can pass on that now, Mark. Thank you. Those comments have been finished now. I just felt we were more in danger of talking about whether we should let people say something rather than just let people say something and move on. So we've done it now. I think we're okay on that.
Yeah, fine. Thank you very much indeed. I'm sorry, I can't see you on my screen, so I couldn't react to. My apologies. Right. So, So we've had the consultation launch yesterday. There was a public. There was a pre-consultation event put on by East West Rail yesterday, which some of us parish councillors and borough councillors attended, in which they basically just outlined the same information, which is now available on their website. They did say yesterday that they were still adding more documentation. It wasn't clear when they would stop and when they would have added everything which they intend to add. So there is a possibility there may still be things to be added. We've got no further information on that. They also said that they are circulating or sending out, I think it's a condensed version of their consultation document, door to door to every house in the consultation area. They haven't actually specified what that consultation area is. So I am presuming it's the entirety of Brickhill Parish, but again, we don't know. They have also got a number of virtual meetings which are coming up to allow people to potentially find out more and to hopefully ask questions. Yesterday's meeting was very much them talking to us, so we could post questions to them. They answered a few, but it was a bit of a selective and mostly I'm not sure who else was on that call yesterday, on the calls yesterday. Can I just ask everyone who was actually able to dial into any of those sessions? Paula was there, Stuart, Wendy, Charlie, and Peter. So I think most of us were able to attend. I'm pretty certain they would have said the same thing at lunchtime as they said in the evening. They do appear to be very consistent in what they're saying. But there are those meetings on the one affecting the Brickhill part of the section is 11 till 12 on the 15th of April, and then 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. on the 11th of May. And they're also saying they've got some further other sessions which will be coming up, and I think it's a virtual consultation room of some form coming up in April. So there's more stuff happening in the future. What that will feel like, we don't know yet. Just have to wait and see. All right, okay, so Paula, do you want to come back in again? You've indicated.
Just had a question about the public events, both on the 14th of April and the 12th of May, that covers the Bedford area. One is 2 till 3 in the afternoon, and one is 11 till 12 in the afternoon. It seems almost prohibitive for anybody that works to actually participate in one of those public events, rather like having a consultation event the other side of town in a cellar somewhere that nobody's ever heard of. It feels that history is repeating itself, and I wonder whether as a parish council we might be able to write to East West Rail and procure a couple of other sessions that are enabling working people to have a listen and a say. My second point about what we were shown yesterday, I don't know how others felt, but I felt it was very Cambridge centric. There was a lot of detail about where it was coming in from the north and the costings versus the south and so forth. We were not furnished with the same level of detail from the Bedford area. We were just shown, well, that's where it is likely to go and which was their preference. We didn't get the breakdown of the detail like Cambridge did, and I wonder whether anybody has seen that or whether we could ask for that, or how other people felt. That was just my observation whilst I was watching that.
You're right, and I think the reason for that, my take on that, this is purely my my view. I don't know if it's true or not. There is a particular group who are pressing for the northern approach into Cambridge as opposed to a southern approach, and I think maybe it's because they articulated their case so strongly, or whatever, that maybe East West Rail felt that they had to respond to that particular question, more than they've done elsewhere in their route.
Or
that's my only.
Maybe the Borough Council should be asking for that level of detail from the south of Bedford, as well as just ostracising A, B, and C routes at this stage. We're not sure that the consultation of the previous version was right and proper, and now obviously we can't choose between any other route. We've been given, and I hate the phrase preferred, because I'm not sure who prefers it at all, quite frankly. But the question is, A, B, and C have disappeared, whereas Cambridge still seem to have both the north and south version.
But they have. I mean, just to be clear though, in what they're consulting on now, they are consulting on that southern approach into Cambridge, from my limited reading of the documentation. So, and they were just explaining why they weren't doing the northern option in a bit more detail than they said. They haven't said anything about elsewhere in Brickhill or Bedford, shall we say?
No, it'd be nice to know why they've discounted those, wouldn't it?
Right. Okay. And can I just pick up on one point that Mr. Ray raised about the consultation, which we agreed to do last time round. And so the day after the last parish council meeting, I met with two of the other parish councillors. So we met with Paula and with Mick, and we discussed that whole consultation plan, which we did formally agree to do. And all I'm trying to do, from my perspective, is to try and make sure when we say we're going to do something, try and make sure we actually then do it. But when we discussed it, we felt that logically it didn't make too much sense to go ahead and consult at that point. So because having rescinded, we decided we were better at that point to not go ahead and consult. We've now got this next consultation, and I guess it's up to us to decide now what, if anything, we want to do about that. We've got until, my apologies, it's sometime in June, isn't it, the cut-off date? Yeah, so that's why we didn't go ahead with it. 9th of June, I think it says. That's why we didn't go ahead with the consultation. It's not that we didn't want to hear people. We just felt that, I think, given the nature of our decisions last time around, it didn't seem to make too much. It seemed to be an awful lot of effort to maybe not gain for not much benefit at that time. That's not saying we don't. That's not saying we don't want to hear what people have got to say for themselves about this issue. Is that fair, Mick and Paul? Are you happy with that assessment or that summary?
I think Mick's on mute, so I don't know if you can say anything. But
oh yeah, and he's indicating again. Right.
I don't want to speak for Mick, but I felt on that evening that there was no point asking people whether they were worried about the environmental impact or the costs or whatever, because the point was, as Mick's motion was, to rescind support, yes or no. And I think we took the view that evening that lots of people had pushed that point. So
Chairman, can I just say something? The problem we had at that last meeting was that a motion was passed to support the northern parishes against a route through Brickhill, etc. The problem that occurred was that nobody then followed through with that, so that nobody agreed what action was going to follow from that, who was going to do it, which parish council was going to take the lead on it. And as a result, you ended up with making a decision, but no action. And that's the problem we had, really. And therefore, if it had been followed through to agree that, I don't know, a councillor was going to draft a letter to write to East West Rail, or to be agreed across the parish council, it didn't happen. So what is important this time is whatever you agree, whoever puts that motion forward really needs to put forward a willingness to act it out, because otherwise you end up with motions but no action from it. And that's just to remind people, that's the problem we had last time.
Okay, thanks, Sue. That's a fair comment.
That caused the confusion with route E and D.
Right.
And nobody had agreed what they were going to do. That's the problem.
Okay. Thank you, Sue. Okay, Mick, do you want to come in at this point?
Yeah. I thought that was one of the reasons this was on the agenda today, to actually follow through the rest of the motion as such today, to actually figure out what we're going to do in it. I mean, obviously the motion was to support the other parishes. Yes, we've done the letter, but we haven't actually agreed anything to support them as such, which I think still needs sorting out. And the other thing is what Paula was saying about the East West Rail meetings. Can we write to them and request that the meetings are held at a reasonable time where most of us can attend? It's pointless having meetings that are aimed at us when most of us will be at work or at times when we can't attend. So can we ask them for a sensible time in the evening so the majority of people can attend?
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Mick. Alistair, do you want to come in? Sorry, Alistair, and if anyone else wants to speak, please indicate afterwards.
Yeah, I was just going to add that in terms of the document drop from East West Rail, if you go on their website, you can order up the documents that you want anyway, and there's no cost involved in that. I've done that myself today. It's a pretty simple process. If anybody feels they need hard copies of the technical documents, which are too bulky to print out yourself, then they are available on the East West Rail website.
They did say yesterday they're going to send out to all the parish and presumably borough councils as well copies of the documentation, presumably more than the condensed version they're going to be circulating. So I think each of us as councillors would expect to receive a pack anyway. So you may end up with 2 copies, Alistair.
Yeah, well, that would be nice actually. But after the last time when they supposedly sent stuff out, I've got my retaliation in first on that one.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Right. Okay. Anyone else want to come in on this item?
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I found getting an email at 9 o'clock the night before the meeting was the next day completely unprofessional. It's expecting people to be able to attend at a moment's notice, and I wonder if Councillor Roydon could perhaps let us know if there was other meetings that took place at a borough level that parish councillors perhaps could have been invited to with a bit more notice than was given by East West Rail for yesterday's session.
Charlie, do you want to comment? You're on mute. Keep going.
Okay, got it. Yeah. Sorry, it wouldn't allow me to unmute myself. I certainly didn't attend any meetings. I presume that there were meetings held with other councillors in different areas and what have you. But I understand from East West Rail that the problem was that the government only just gave them permission. That's what I think what Will Gallagher said yesterday. He said that the government only just given the permission. That's why it was such short notice. But
so did the borough council have a session that then just you didn't attend?
I didn't have any meeting. I'm not aware if the borough council had a meeting. They may have had meetings with the consortium, but I don't know.
I only asked the question because I'm hearing that over Cambridge Way, parish councillors were invited to meetings with Cambridge borough councillors ahead of it coming out. So I'm just wondering if we're missing information or not getting it ahead of time or early enough. Getting this information yesterday ahead of the meeting this evening has left some of us perhaps a bit on the back foot to be fully empowered to discuss this. Reading 194 pages in this amount of time is pretty of a tough ask.
Yeah, I think Will Gallagher said that they were only able to announce it in the last couple of days. Now, as far as I'm concerned, the opportunity for meetings was held on that day. There may have been meetings with other people during the day, but I certainly wasn't party to them.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think you've missed out. I don't think there was any other information that was going around before that day because it was only just announced.
This does seem par for the course in the way they operate, and I think it is. I just got to take it as that's the way it is. Essentially, the government operate, and they tell East West Rail, and then they are allowed to. The tone I got from Will Gallagher yesterday was that they're waiting for permission from the government to announce. I mean, quite clearly, all that material was generated way ahead of the announcement. So they were sitting there waiting to publicly go live with that. But so it was simply a ministerial decision, if you like, to say yes, go and start consulting. That's my reading of it.
I think my understanding was that they weren't going to release any information because of PERDA. So it came as a bit of a surprise to me to have the notification as such short notice that we've got.
Right.
So would you be aware if there was a meeting that took place, even if you didn't attend?
A meeting of who, Paula? Sorry.
Sorry, the Borough Council with East West Rail.
There may have been a meeting, but I wasn't party to it.
How would we find out if there was?
Well, I can certainly ask if anyone's met. I mean, it may well be that the consortium spoke with them. It may well be that officers spoke to them. But as I say, I wasn't party to any of that meeting. And it's very difficult at the moment with these Zoom things because I'm not in the building meeting other people and talking to them about what's taking place. But certainly, if there was, it wouldn't have happened last week or anything silly like that. It would have been very short notice because we only just got notification that meeting was going to be held for ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know that there's sometimes a tendency to think that there are things going on behind closed doors, but if there were any meetings, it would have only been on the same day, I'm sure. I wasn't aware of any other meetings taking place.
All right, thank you. Anyone else want to come in now on this item? And I'm just, no, sorry, Mike, this is the councillor part again, right? So, Mick, do you want to come in again?
Hands up.
Well, yes, I mean, we still haven't got anywhere. So how are we going to do the supporting the other parishes? I mean, obviously there's the Be Fair group. Are we going to have a subcommittee maybe to liaise with them, or a group of individuals? You know, the motion was to support the parishes. That obviously formed to have this group. Are we going to support that?
So I mean, obviously, quite clearly, I mean, I have not been part of any conversations with. I've talked to individuals, but I haven't talked to the Be Fair group itself, and I don't know quite how that's structured and how we would formally engage with it. So, is there a schedule of meetings? Is there a, is there an acting chair of that group, or what's the coordination process?
I guess write to them and ask.
Yeah.
Or I mean, if that's the way we decide to go, as I say, we could always have a subcommittee of 2 or 3 people or something like that to contact and report back. I think. And obviously there was also the request of funding that, to financially support it as well. So that's something else we need to discuss, really, I guess.
Yeah. Well,
from what Sue said earlier about actions and people doing things, who's going to do things, the first thing I've raised is about the public meetings and could we write to them and ask for some evening sessions. So are we agreed that that's what we need to do? And if so, who is agreeing to do that? Because I don't want this meeting to end and then it float around in cyberspace for another 2 weeks.
Well, Paul, I was going to say, Mark, things like that I can write because I'm simply writing saying, which I'm sure everybody's happy with. Where it becomes a problem is where you are writing with an opinion, and that's when it needs the parish councillors to draft that letter, doesn't it? So things like that, I will note that, and yes, of course, I'll write and do that. Anything else that's just asking for information, that's fine. I will do those things. Yeah. Right.
So Sue will write to comment on the fact that the 2 sessions aimed for the public for the that goes through Brickhill are at daytime hours, and it'd be nice. We would like to have one that's in the evening to allow members of the public who are working to attend. Is that? I think that's what we're saying. Is everyone happy with that? First of all.
Okay. Yes.
Yes.
Mark, I think that this is also open to the public, isn't it? I think the issue of that consultation is now on the website. I'd encourage all residents to write to East West Rail and say, it's not fair, that there are no options for evening meetings. You've got to be careful. You don't think the fact the parish council asks means that you'll automatically get it changed. The more people that go on that website, more people that go on and make their point and say we can't get to this meeting. So I'll happily write, but I think you need to encourage everybody to go on and say, I can't come to those meetings. It's not acceptable. The more people that do it, the more likelihood you're going to be to get more meetings at evenings and weekends. Because in the past, we've done the exhibitions at the weekend. So why shouldn't there be weekend?
Well, as I say, the previous public events, they've been like 5 hours or 6 hours or whatever, so they've been a long session. Now, quite, and that's probably because that's mostly sort of they're displaying posters or display material, and then they're just circulating around the room and responding to questions, which is a bit harder in an online format. I think the virtual thing, which is coming out in April, might be more like that. But certainly, that's all we have on offer to us at the moment. It's those two meetings during the day, 15th of April and 11th of May. Right. So we're happy with that one. So moving beyond that, then let's put that to one side. Next.
So who's going to be on the subcommittee then, Mark? Have we got any volunteers for that?
Can I ask a question? I don't know who's going to be on the subcommittee. I think we've got a problem if we delegate the decisions to a subcommittee, because all of the views of the councillors might not be represented. I mean, I'm happy for us to have consultations, and I think Paul is absolutely right that there should be consultations and as many consultations as possible, and an opportunity for people to contribute at different times of the day, and if they're working, all the rest of it. So I'm very happy to vote for that, but I'm not happy to vote for other things. I mean, there was a comment before, why haven't we rescinded our support for Route E? I support the railway. I support Bedford being part of the great development between Oxford and Cambridge and the economic opportunities that's going to provide for Bedford, the access to fast trains, which otherwise we'd lose, the ability for people to work in Cambridge, Oxford commute, the prosperity that'll bring to our town. There's only one route that's on the table that goes through Bedford Midland Station. They've rejected the southern routes. And we've heard some stuff tonight about the southern routes and the Varsity line. East West Rail have already said that the Varsity line has been built on. It's got properties on it. It's got the country park. It's got the scheduled monuments. It's got all the different. There are a myriad of reasons why it can't be the southern route. That's what East West Rail have said. So if we wanted to go to Bedford railway station, if we want the new railway station, if we want all the good things that will bring, then we've only got Route E to play with. And from my point of view, I want to get the best out of Route E. And we've seen that some of the routes that they're proposing go well north of the country park now. So we could infill that with planting and trees, and so that it would be well away from the urban area of Brickhill. So I don't want to support stuff which is going to be attacking the only possibility that we've got of having that railway coming through Bedford. I think that some of the comments which have been made about party politics, they shouldn't be entering into this at all, because as I've said repeatedly, all of the party political leaders voted just recently in favour of this Route E, including the Green Party, and all the mayoral candidates of the main parties all wanted this railway to go through Bedford railway station. It wasn't Mayor Dave, as it's often said, and I think we've got to acknowledge that ultimately this is a government railway, government funded. It's not a Lib Dem railway, and it's not a Bedford railway. It's going from Oxford to Cambridge. It's bigger than us, and so we need to consider all these issues when we're making these decisions about spending money to fighters and all the rest of it. So, and I'm just dubious about delegating the agreement to a subcommittee. That's the only problem I have, Mark. Yeah, that's why I can't ever vote to put money, throw money at a campaign to
so one of the key things we try and have is, under the so-called 6-month rule, we try not to keep going back. It's like picking at a scab. We try not to just keep going back over ground where we've made decisions already. We made a decision last time that we rescinded our support for Route E and also D. So as a council, that's what we've agreed to do. What individuals want to do is their own rights and what have you. And I understand where you're coming from, Charlie. I would also say, I would sort of almost like, on the back of what you're saying there, one of the concerns I have is that I understand why some people do not want to have any railway going north of Brickhill. And so there's still that. Yeah, Paul, I'm going to go to Wendy first and then back to yourself and then to Mick, if that's okay. So the basic question is, do we engage with the consultation? Do we engage with this consultation from East West Rail? Sort of yes or no. If we don't engage with it, there is the possibility our views as a parish council may be ignored. And if we don't encourage our residents to engage with that consultation, their views may be ignored. So, and I appreciate, there's a separate line of thought which says we don't want this railway here at all. We want it somewhere else. We want a reconsultation. And that's the line that the parish council agreed to do last time round. So it's how do we balance those two strands of potential thoughts or of our activities. Wendy. You're on mute. Sorry, probably, Wendy, you need to come off. All right.
Yes, I'm sorry. I just want to support what Charlie was saying. I watched people's heads shaking when Charlie said that this went through full council and it was voted by all four parties. To my recollection, that's absolutely true. There were 3 people that abstained. And I think I would like to ask these members who are shaking their heads, not what Charlie and I are saying, is to contact the ward councillors in their ward to ask their opinion, because I think you will get exactly the same answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. I'm going to come to Paula and then to Mick. I think that's right. Yeah.
I think, Councillor Royden, when you started talking about, that people don't want the railway and so forth, I don't think that's actually what people are saying. I think people can see the benefits of the East-West line to connect these great cities. I think there is grave concern about the process in which we have found ourselves with Route E suddenly becoming the preferred option. And that is what people are saying is wrong with the whole thing. And I think as a parish, we've said we rescind support for D&E. But I'd like to see what we're doing at a borough level to also look at what else can be done. It's not too late. This is going to be a lifetime commitment for this area of Bedford. And let's not rush into something just because somebody somewhere thought it would be a really good idea. Now, if Cambridge have managed to get both north and south further consulted, further looked into, why are we still not looking at A, B and C? Why are we still not looking for alternatives? Why are we not looking into some of the suggestions that have been made about using line for East-West Rail and also going north-south with the return route? I still think there's some work to be done, and I don't think it should be a foregone conclusion that E is the way to go. And if we had a mindset of actually we've chosen, or East-West Rail have chosen Route E, spuriously the decision making I'm at a loss to understand, quite frankly. But anyway, I'll park that. I just would like to know, where has Bedford Borough Council, where did we as a parish council actually go out to the parishioners and say E is preferred? Do you want us to vote for it? And now we're finding ourselves in this position. So let's go back to the drawing board. I watched the Borough Council meeting and I saw the flip-flopping approaches that some council members were making, and I was aghast at the way in which they were speaking, quite frankly. And I don't think it had wholeheartedly agreement, as Councillor Ryder has said. There was agreement, but let's base it on the fact that we didn't know what we know now. I'm sure people would be changing their views now they know that some of their constituents are losing their homes.
So, Mick, thank you, Paula.
Yeah, just to
follow on
from what Charlie. Sorry. Am I? Yeah. Just to follow on from what Charlie was saying. Yeah, I totally agree. It shouldn't be political. I don't think the parish council should be political, but that's another story. At the end of the day, you're a borough councillor and you're a parish councillor, Charlie. What you do in the borough council is up to you, but as a parish councillor, you're part of the parish council, and the view of the people is that they are against the route going north. Now, whether you like that or not is irrelevant, really. I mean, I'm out to represent the people that elected me as such, the Woodlands Park people, and they are going to be majorly affected. I mean, East West Rail even admit that they're going to be affected by noise, etc. So yeah, I will always represent the constituents, and I think everyone that is on this parish council should do the same.
I agree.
Yeah, and we still haven't gone on to the what we're going to do. I mean, you don't want a subcommittee. How do you suggest we do it to fulfil the motion that was passed last month?
Would it just be open for anyone that wishes to attend, Mick?
I don't know. I mean, maybe the first instance would be for Sue or someone to approach the group of parish councils and, ask them the way forward and how we can support them. I mean, obviously they've put out a request today for funding to help the campaign, which is something I would support personally. I don't know anyone else.
Right. Okay. So, yeah, I'm just conscious that we have had quite a few conversations about this now, and it's just trying to sort of boil it down to a set of actions we can agree to take. That's what I'm really interested in doing. Without regurgitating too much over past history, we need to just agree what we're going to do to go forward. Yeah, in as simple way as we possibly can, if that's okay. That's what I'm really aiming for us to do. Alistair, do you want to come in, please?
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Just what about this subcommittee thing? I mean, I'm not thinking that the subcommittee makes decisions on behalf of the parish, but what appears to be happening is that there's a lot of activity going on with other parish councils and others, some of whom we've heard this evening, but that is not being condensed down and fed back into parish council. So as far as I'm concerned, if there's some councillors that want and have time to spend to engage with the wider community in terms of Route E, and by the wider community I mean people like Be Fair and also the other parish councils that are involved, then I think that's fair enough. It does seem the way East West Rail are behaving is that depending on who you are, you get a slightly different version of events. And I feel that some councils are getting better information than we are. So I want to tap into that knowledge so that we can make informed decisions within the parish council setting. So I think it's, as far as I'm concerned, if we can find some people who are prepared to put the effort in to speak to the councils and come back with any information that they've heard so we can build up some sort of evidence base, then I think that would be great. On the topic of East West Rail itself, just changing tack slightly, and in my mindset is we must engage with East West Rail. I have a horrible feeling that this route, whether we like it or not, is going to get forced through, right? And we can all say we don't like that idea and all the rest of it, and we accept that. However, it is quite likely that it's going to get forced through, and if it does, the disruption of the build process is going to be horrendous. So we need to be engaged in that process. It took them a year to raise Bromham Road Bridge to put a couple of electric wires underneath it, for example. Now they're talking about demolishing that whole bridge again and building another span and putting 2 new tracks underneath it. So the whole timescale of this is going to be horrendous, and we must keep tabs on it and figure out what's going on, and ultimately get the best result we possibly can if it goes ahead. So we can't assume that it's going to stop. We've got to get the best out of it as well. So we've got to try and ride 2 horses here on this one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alistair. Paula, do you want to come back in, please?
Yeah, can I just ask a question, Mark, as chair of Brickhill Parish Council? Have you received an invitation from the mayor for attending a meeting, or parish councillors to attend a meeting from East West Rail that the mayor is holding? And if so, when is it, and can that be made open to us? I believe
I have circulated it, Paula.
Yeah. When did that come through? Sorry.
Well, I won't know offhand, but I just circulated it to all councillors, so you should have all had that.
Yes, we have all had that. We have had that, Sue.
You haven't?
We have had it. Yes, we have.
I did.
Yeah.
But I didn't. I noticed Paula didn't come back because most people came back to say yes.
Okay.
I never saw a response from you. I'm fairly confident you'll have got it.
I'll have a check back through my emails. Thank you, Sue.
As soon as I got it, I did send it straight out.
Thank you very much.
It's the 20th of April, 7:30 to 8:30 on Teams. And I'm just double checking here. Paula, you are
April.
You are copied. Yeah, you are copied on that one.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
I'll resend it to you. Now,
Thank
obviously,
you.
the comment was made earlier about the fact that Sudesh, I'll come back to you in a minute for me. The comment was made earlier about other parishes are having this as a more public, in a public format. So the way this meeting has been described, in the way we're just rereading the invitation, or the letter we received, the email we received on this one. It's from John Shortland, the Chief Officer for Planning and, sorry, what's his title? Apologies, can't jump here. Planning and Infrastructure Development. He says, we understand that the East West Rail Company will shortly launch a consultation. This is writing on the 10th of March or thereabouts, and a consultation on station options and exact routes for their line to follow within the broader Corridor E that was announced last year. As your parish falls within or is closely adjacent to Corridor E, we're keen to understand your council's views on the potential routes once they are announced, and would therefore be grateful if you could suggest 3 possible dates or times in April for a meeting between our representatives and the Mayor, Councillor Headley, and John Shortland. So we've gone back and we have, I believe, agreed, or we've suggested the 20th of April. Has that been confirmed, Sue, as being
yes,
as being acceptable? Yeah. Okay. Right. So yeah. So it's for them to meet with us, and I, you know, from my point of view, I'm very happy for that to be a public meeting. Obviously, we need to tell those, the Mayor, Councillor Headley, and John Shortland, that will be in the public domain, and they will have to hopefully agree to that as well. So is that okay with everyone? Right,
well,
okay.
it's not our meeting, Mark, is
no,
it? It's their meeting to talk to us, isn't it? So it's not. If they want a public session, they could arrange a public session, couldn't they?
It's a bit of I'm reading this as being a bit of a meeting of two equal parties as such, in that they want to meet with us, we want to meet with them. So we're happy to meet. So they've suggested a meeting. We've said yes, we would like to have a meeting. I think if we say to them we'd like it in public, let's put that forward. Okay, so
yeah, I'd agree with that.
Okay, is that okay? So we've got that meeting. Does that answer your question, Paula? Yeah, okay with that?
No, I can't find it, but
okay,
if you're going to resend it, that's
I will forward it on
Thank
back onto you now. Yeah, okay.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
well, maybe a public open session at the start of that might be handy as well.
Yeah.
Bear in mind, it's an hour meeting we've been offered, and I'm just conscious that I know we have many members of the public who wish to comment on these things. It's trying to get, you know, the right balance. So I'm going to ask Catherine to come in, please. Catherine, because you haven't spoken at all. And then I come to Sudesh. Sorry, Sudesh. I think Can I go to Catherine? Yeah. Hi, Catherine.
I'm just thinking that we going round in circles, and I'm sorry I haven't been participating, but I'm just out and walking. But in terms of like, could we make a decision of what we're doing? Because we've debated all the different various options, but we just need to make a decision of what we're doing. I'm in favor of the, you know, Alistair's proposal of going to, so not just targeting one thing, but sitting on both. So like working with the other parish councils to find out what they're doing and to keep informed and to participate, but also not closing the door on East West Rail, but also work with them to make sure that we continue to know what's going on. but also ask the question, why are some other, why is Cambridge more important? Why are they getting more information? And the fact that we were very last minute to be told about the meeting, last night. So that that's quite annoying, because if they're doing this professionally, whether they were told by the minister, I don't know whether it's a tactic they're using to just say they consulted, but not consulting properly. So just getting those questions answered, really, and us doing something, because we can continue to debate this till we're blue in the face, but we might as well start getting some action done. That's, that's my point. Thanks.
Thank you, Catherine. Sudesh. Sorry, it's coming to you. Hang on. We'll get there. Hopefully, Sudesh, can you speak? Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Alistair as well and Catherine. I think we need to sit on both seats. But, like Royden is saying, Route E, but I don't think that we should be supporting Route E at all, even living in Brickhill, in Woodlands Park. It's going to affect everybody. And I think they really need to justify to the public of what they're actually putting in place and what we're doing.
I think what, if I can just interrupt, I think what Alistair was saying was we should, the two elements, the two aspects he's proposing, Alistair can jump in, was one is the this Northern Parishes group and BFARE on the one hand, but also the consultation on the other hand, and East West Rail. So though it's not, I don't think what Alistair was saying was supporting Route E.
No, I can comment on that if you like. No, I'm not supporting Route E. In fact, I think my initial comments was actually I don't support the railway at all, because I think it's a complete disaster that's going to deliver nothing. But anyway, that's just me. So I'm slightly at the more extreme end of no, thank you for that. Now, my point was that we need to engage and find out what is going on, and one way of doing that is to speak to other parishes that sometimes have better information than us, and then we can draw that back into the parish council. Sounds great. I think we can do that. But the other thing is, when people when in the fullness of time, East West Rail start talking about the specifics of where exactly it's going to go, where exactly they're going to start building, and how or what can we get out of it, then we need to engage with that as well. Otherwise, they'll just ignore us completely. So that's really my view.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I appreciate everyone is saying we should move on in some way, but we do need to agree how we're going to do that precisely. And one of the points from my perspective is that they're outlining two different routes through Brickhill Parish, and we need to, there are in their document, which I've only just skimmed through part of it, they are saying in some of the route options, they specifically mentioned they've called it the Brickhill Country Park rather than North Brickhill Country Park, so they have mentioned that as being, the impact on that area. So I just wonder whether, looking at the documentation, they're saying their virtual consultation room opens on the 12th of April. I mean, I think maybe an option is to say, okay, between now, our next meeting is the beginning of May, the 6th of May for our annual meeting of Parish Council. Between now and then, we could talk to our colleagues in other parish councils. We can find out more about, we can look in more detail at the documentation that's on offer. We can go to those meetings which they're arranging on the 14th of April, for instance. So, potentially, and we can encourage our residents to take part in the consultation. So we have got time to try and formulate a better plan. Because at the moment, I'm not hearing anybody saying we should do apart from agreeing, we should write them and say we want to have a public meeting in the evening. I'm not actually hearing anything other specific points at this stage. Sorry, my apologies. Apart from the idea of having a subcommittee, that's been put forward. My apologies. Yeah.
I agree with Alistair. I think the more information we have, the better to be able to work with it. But I still feel that we need to make representation that Route E needs to be reconsulted. And I'm not hearing that loud enough this evening. And I genuinely don't think it's the right route. And I don't think the process that we've gone through is fair and just. And I think as a parish council, and when we go to the borough on the 20th of April, whenever it is, I think as a parish we should be pushing that.
So,
yeah, Mark, if I can just say, I do agree with a lot of what Councillor Brazier is saying. I mean, I'm all in favour of lots of information. I think the more information, the better, really. So I don't think in any way that I don't support what has been said in terms of meeting with people, discussing what's going on. I think getting information out there is really, really important. So I do support that wholeheartedly. I'm not against debate.
And I think there is absolute merit in working with others on this one, because I think essentially if we were just one parish saying one thing, and no matter how hard we were to press for something, the odds on us being listened to, if we're looking at the bigger picture, it's probably very limited. You know, we might be able to get away, we might be able to, get results if we're commenting on a very particular local consideration. But if you want to talk about that much bigger picture, which is really what Paula is alluding to in terms of the particular around the route, we would do much better by working with others on that front.
And that consultation needs to be wider, because it needs to involve the other parishes. Because if you're talking about a southern route, then you talk about other homes being demolished on the southern route, and other businesses being disrupted on the southern route, and other countryside areas in the RSPB, it's and in all those kind of places being affected as well. So just because we say you don't want a northern route, you want a southern route, that's going to impact other parishes, so they'll have something to say as well.
Sure.
I think the RSPB is much, much, much further south than what line A, B and C is suggesting, Councillor Royden, sorry. The RSPB is great for birds and the Greensand Ridge and everything, but that's not where the train line is purporting to go. And we can't keep using the RSPB as some kind of flagship as to why it can't go there. We've got northern countryside here that's greenbelt, that's green fields that are unspoilt and are equally biodiverse. I think I'd like to hear us shouting louder as a parish to reconsult, and I'd like to see us working much more with the other parish councillors to that end. And I'm more than happy to get involved in whatever way, shape or form and bring it back to the parish, as I'm sure many of us would be. And I think we just need to move on this and agree it and get on to the next point.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, if we're going to go the route of forming the subcommittee, I'm certainly happy to be on it. I know who else wants to. I mean, do we need to formally vote to agree to agree to have a subcommittee, or?
But you have to base it. What you need to do is to articulate what the purpose of that subcommittee is. If the purpose is to reach out to other people, to other groups and other parishes, and then learn what we can, come up with a more specific plan about how to address this issue. We need to say that now, what the purpose is really, and then that committee of whoever it might be can go away and do that job. Yeah, you don't necessarily have to say well. You need to put context around it.
Well, I mean, the context is that my motion from last time, which is to support the other parish councils in their opposition to route the train going through the north of Bedford, basically, or something like that. I can't remember what it was exactly now, but words to that effect. So
yeah. Well, so are there two different strands here? Because as I understand it, the BFARE group is now asking for a reconsultation rather than simply saying we don't agree with the northern route. So it's which to my way of looking at it is a fairer approach, because it's not it's not just pushing it onto someone else.
I guess it's a matter of it, the reconsultation bit. I guess it's a matter of it being looked at again to see whether it was actually done right the first time round. That's presuming.
Yeah. So
surely then we can agree as a parish council that any of us, all of us, some of us, who knows, will work with Be Fair to understand what's going on with other parish councillors. And I think Councillor Royden, you said it wasn't fair if perhaps a couple of people went. I think that's what you said, or paraphrasing. So if it was an open invitation, then it's not banned from anybody. I don't know, but I'm certainly happy to hear what people have to say and report back on what's been said. It's not a decision-making body; it's collecting information and sharing it backwards with us.
on that basis, that I don't see any problem if councillors want to go and meet with BFair. That's entirely their right to do so.
Chairman, do you need a subcommittee? Surely, if all you're going to do is talk to the other parishes that are involved, why don't you just agree that possibly Michael can volunteer Paula to decide who they're going to speak and just fact find, isn't it? Feed it back to the next meeting. You're not agreeing, you don't need a subcommittee if you're not actually going to be agreeing to spend money or do something. If all it is a fact finding, that will make logical sense, wouldn't it? Isn't that right? Can't they just agree and decide between them which parishes they're going to consult with and get the information from? Otherwise, I think you're going to go around in circles tonight. I mean, it's 9 o'clock now, and I'm not sure where you've gone, really.
Oh, 7 minutes fine. That's right.
Then, isn't it?
Okay. So are we happy? Okay, let's say then.
Well, you can't stop them, Mark.
No, of course not.
Yeah,
And
makes
we
sense.
wouldn't want it. We can't.
We wouldn't want
so-
to.
No, indeed. Right. So anything else then on this particular item?
I think Michael said something about money, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the request has come in for to support them financially. You know, I think if we're supporting them, we should support them. I mean, yeah, I mean that I think they asked for £1,000. Whether you think that is appropriate, I don't know, or whether you think you should hold off before you find out more what's going on. Again, I don't know.
Chairman, the problem is that letter has only come in tonight. So technically, you can't decide to spend money at a drop of a hat tonight, really. So you do have to think about that, really, don't you? So it might be better finding more out first and then coming back and maybe agreeing between meetings to decide the money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So we're not saying no, but we're not saying yes. So we're just saying, I think we need a bit more clarity about the funding application. I know obviously Mike told us about, I think Mike told us about the limited liability group that's been set up, but I think we just need to see a bit more detail on that one before we could agree to hand any money over to anybody outside the parish council. I would recommend. Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
Mark, can I just dip in there on money, which is something that's close to my heart. Okay, we spent a long time talking about the grant giving criteria a couple of meetings ago. We went through that exhaustively. We've got a set of criteria, and we really need those criteria adhered to, or certainly at least considered, before we start giving out any money to anybody. You know, we've been very strict about what we do with money, quite rightly, especially in the current climate. So yeah, we need to look into that very carefully.
Being new, Alistair, is that on the Brickhill Parish website?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll send you a copy, Paul, if I can remember.
Right.
Thank you.
Are we done with item 7? Are we happy to move on?
Right, so to clarify then, myself and Paula are going to find out more. Yeah, that's what we agreed. Yeah.
Yeah, and please just circulate the information to all the councillors so everyone is aware of what, and to Sue, so we're all aware of what's been suggested, and if you want to get involved, they can get involved, and we just make sure we don't exclude anybody from that process. That'd be the ideal situation, I think.
And Sue's not going to write to BFair or anyone else separately. You just leave it to us. Yeah. Right. Okay.
Yeah. Is that okay? Yeah. I think we can.
There was that final query, I think, about the meeting. What was it, on the 20th? Was that public or was that closed?
We'll put that back to the via John Shaw, and he's the guy who wrote to us, I think.
Shall I do that? I'll do that.
Yes.
I'll write. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. Right. Okay, we're going to move on to item 8, financial matters. To consider and agree the action on the following: to approve the bank reconciliations and any accounts for payment. They have been circulated. Can we approve those, please?
Agreed.
Everyone happy with that? Thank you very much. Item 8.2, to note the need to return the outstanding NDP grant monies and to agree to reapply for new funding. So we had a grant of £10,000 for the neighbour development plan, which got somewhat overtaken by events with not helped by the COVID situation. We've spent £1,890 of that grant, so we need to return £8,110. It's always limited to the financial year in question in which is awarded. And so we need to hand that money back to the grant awarding body. And I'm just suggesting that we do when the opportunity is available, because the scheme is not open again for grants in the new financial year. But I think it's a good thing to do for the benefit of the parish, to get people's opinions across the parish on how we see the parish developing in the future. Most parishes is about house building. That's not necessarily the case in this case here, but there are still issues around how do we encourage and support the creation of a community, if you like, within Brickhill. Is everyone happy that we would reapply for grant funding for presumably 21-22 when the scheme is open again?
Yeah, I think it's essential, Mark.
Thank you, I understand. Right. And we'll be looking for volunteers to get involved in that. Hopefully, once we get past this, the major part of this COVID outbreak, it'll be a lot easier to consult with residents as well. And that is the main part of that scheme, of that proposal. The NDP idea is to consult directly with residents and to get their views. Is everyone happy then, therefore, that we do hand that money back and we reapply for funding when it's available? Okay, I'm going to take agreement on that one. Thank you very much indeed. Item 9, to receive reports from the borough councillors. I've seen an email from Wendy and Charlie for Brickhill. I haven't seen anything for the Great Barford borough councillors, but I don't know if anything's come in recently. I know Stephen was on the call. Can I just, first of all, can I just move to Wendy and Charlie, and then I'll come to Stephen at the end, if I may. Wendy and Charlie, do you want to comment on your report at all?
No, Mark, and obviously we've attached to the report the letter that we had back from East West Rail explaining why they are not able to use Southern routes, etc. So if they're gathering information, if Mick and Councillor, the two councillors are gathering evidence, you know, there's some information in there from East West Rail which you may find helpful. It talks about, you know, how the intervarsity line goes over the country park and all that kind of stuff, Prairie Country Park, and scheduled monuments and a school have been built on it and what have you. So it's just, there's information there which you can look at, and there's a change of date. I think I might have put the, oh no, I did put the 12th of April for Ruxmead. That's now been confirmed.
Is it the 16th? I thought it was the 16th, Charlie, for Ruxmead.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mark. If it says the 16th in that report, then it should be the 12th. I've just had a notification today that it's going to be the 12th.
All right, that's good. Any questions for Wendy or Charlie? If not, can I move on to Stephen? Double checking Stephen Minutes. Still on the call or not?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm unmuted.
Hi, Stephen. Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Can you hear me?
Well, yeah, I certainly can. I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Okay. Well, just to say, firstly, I apologise. I'm having trouble hanging on because I've had migraines all day and they're driving me up the bloody wall. But just to say that the walk around for snagging and looking at play centres and other things, which was taking place this month, is now set for next Thursday. So I'll have something to report then. And I'm also chasing on the adoption front because this again is just dragging on as usual. I should probably need to call Councillor Royden in to assist on this.
Thank you very much indeed, Stephen. And
Mark, Sudesh had her hand up.
Oh, sorry, Sudesh. Yeah.
No, I just wanted to be unmuted, and I'm going to join. I'm going to join Stephen on Thursday as well for the walk around and the snags.
Okay. Any other questions for Stephen?
Well, just to say, I mean, I'll help you in any way I can, Stephen. But as you know and I know, it's for the developer to decide when they pass it over for adoption and not the council, and we can't compel them to do that. We can only assist in any way that we can, and my service is at your disposal, and if I can help in any way, I will.
Well, I thought it was all finished. I didn't realise there was anything outstanding.
Mark, we can't hear you very well, or I can't.
The Dalek.
No, we had adoption of the common grounds, but not of the roads.
Oh. Okay.
And as Councillor Royden said, Charles has said that's it's not particularly in our hands. All we can try and do is force their hand, but they've shown complete lack of interest, as is common with any number of developers, because it means they'll have to do the snagging work to bring it up to standard.
Right.
Yeah, and some developments take 2 decades.
Yeah.
Or more.
Right. Yeah.
I
Great.
I just thought of one which took 3 decades.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, Stephen. And as I say, I hope you feel better soon.
Okay.
Right. It's going to move on to item number 10 to consider the average speed camera scheme for Brickhill Drive and agree any action. Sue, do you want to talk to this one, please?
Yeah, I mean, we circulated, or I did the scheme design the last meeting, and for some reason the conversation drifted off to weight limits and heavy goods vehicles, and so really we just need to, I just really need you to confirm for me that you are happy with what's being proposed, and then I can go back to Alan Burles at the borough and say yes. So that was all. I thought you probably were happy with it, but it wasn't agreed as such.
Yeah. Okay. And it is a fair amount of money we're spending here, so it's worth getting formal agreement on that one, I think. I hope you can hear me okay. But any questions on this point about the average speed camera Brickhill Drive? Paula?
Sorry, being new, I might have missed this, might have been earlier, I'm not sure. Has this all gone out and been shared with the parishioners? Is it in the public domain, this map that you've sent us, Sue? I don't know the answer, hence me asking. Are we at risk of voting on something that the people haven't had a chance to see, is my question, rather like 2019. It might be out there, I don't know, that's my question.
I think it's not out in the public domain because the request has been, hasn't it, in the past from residents for average speed cameras in Brickhill Drive. It's then the design of the highways design. They sort of effectively designed a scheme that is workable for it. So in that sense, it's only gone to you as parish councillors at the minute.
Yeah, okay. I'm just trying to double check what we have said, because basically this is where it gets, you sort of think we have properly informed people about these things, and then you start going back and sort of doubting. It has been going on for some time, the whole question of where we would have average speed cameras, whether we would have them or not, and if so, where. So yeah, I'm not sure 100%, Paula, exactly where we have mentioned this to people as a parish council. I may have mentioned it through a different forum, shall we say, but as a parish council, I'm not sure what we had on our website.
Would it be appropriate to put it up on the website and say for people to look at it and let us know before voting on it? I don't know. I've certainly not been approached by anybody, but if they don't know about it, they wouldn't know to approach me.
If I could just make one comment, Mark. The design is done by Borough Council Highways officers in conjunction with the police.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking it's a good idea to let people know. I'm all in favour of that. But what we don't want people doing is saying, well, it needs to go a few feet this way or a few feet that way or what have you. When I mean, I just think the experts and the police know the best place for this in relation to accidents and all the rest of it. And
I think the only
I'm all in
question
favour of publicising it. All in favour of publicising.
Thanks, Charlie. The only question I would ask is, I mean, I haven't got the document in front of me, so I'm not 100% clear if any of the mounting those cameras are anyway could be considered a blocking the sign of line of sight for anybody coming in and out of driveways, for instance. Those sort of considerations which people sometimes will get concerned about. That's the only point that I would think about as a potential significant comment on it.
But that's why you have highways experts, Mark, who decide where they go. And
sure, but even they can get it wrong occasionally.
Yeah,
so
everyone can get it wrong.
Well, basically, we have a choice. We either vote on it tonight, or we delay, and we can publicise it in the meantime and pick it up again in May. I'm not sure what the impact will be in terms of the build time for this.
Could I just ask something here? Could I just ask something? I mean, I was just looking back through the emails, and one thing that Alan was going to confirm was that the police actually agreed with it, and we've not had that confirmation. The whole point of this, sorry, have we had that?
I was going to say, I have gone to Alan, and he said, actually, that is just a courtesy thing. So they will only necessarily come back if there's a big issue with it.
Well,
so,
I think it was a bit more than that, though, Sue, because I thought they said that they would not look at any evidence from average speed cameras unless they felt that they were motivated to do it, and they wouldn't be motivated to do it if they didn't agree with it. So I don't want to suspend the money, only to then find that the police are not prepared to take any action to look at any evidence. So that was pretty much where we left it, I'm sure.
I'll go back to Alan, but I thought I'd circulated to everybody the email from Alan, because I had gone back to him and said, I thought you were going to consult with the police. He came back and said, it's just that is a matter of courtesy. Now, whether it means you've already consulted about the scheme and now before it's finalised, they effectively go again, I can email him back again and ask him that question. Yeah.
Can I just interject? Sorry, Alistair, carry on.
No, I was just going to say that I just really want to make sure that before we spend any money or agree to spend any money, that actually we've got the police's support and that they will do something with the evidence. If it's a police matter to look at this evidence, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm more than happy to sign it off, subject to the confirmation that the police are in agreement with it. But can assure you that the police are absolutely consulting, and it's not a courtesy. And I can think of one request for average speed cameras which has been rejected simply because the police said that they couldn't support it. And this is an accident black spot, the like of which we haven't got anywhere else in Brickhill. It's been a source of fatal accidents in my time as a councillor. It's got major problems, and that's why we supported it as a council, and Wendy and I gave our ward funds towards it because we'd had so much pressure from the public. I've certainly made sure that everybody in my ward in Brickhill is fully aware of it, and we've had nothing but support so far.
Okay, I've got Paula and then I've got Wendy. So Paula.
I was just going to ask that question. If we're waiting for something from the police, in the interim, could the map be put on the Brickhill Parish website for residents to look at? And then I would ask people of the East Ward, if you have any comments, to contact me. I'm sure your other councillors too, ahead of voting on it next time. And by then, hopefully, we'll have heard from the police.
Okay, thank you, Paula. Wendy.
Yes, Mark, I thought this had been through the parish council. This had been approved for financial. This is already been through council. I mean, Alistair's asking us before we spend any money, but I'm sure we have already voted on this many months ago.
We have agreed to allocate the money for it, and obviously the scheme's been drawn up. Now, Alistair is asking a particular point about will the police. I thought the fines were issued by the borough council rather than via the police here.
No.
Average speed cameras, is it not a borough council matter to?
No, the fines are issued by the police, Mark, and I can show you all the average speed cameras in action across the borough. All regularly give out fines for people who are speeding, and they're very effective. We have made an agreement to fund these cameras. It was made a long time ago. There has been a considerable amount of work which has gone into it, and a considerable amount of expense which has already been incurred. Whilst I'm all in favour of publicising the map on the website, showing where the cameras are going to go, I think that's a good idea. All in favour of open government. I think we do need to crack on with this.
But I think if Alistair's pointing out, if there is any risk that the police would not enforce, issue fines.
That is not a risk, Mark. That is not a risk.
Alistair, do you want? Sorry, I've got Catherine coming in here. Catherine.
Hi. I remember the debate about the speed cameras on Brickhill Drive, and I remember the fact that part of the money was already there from the borough, and the reason why we would get one would be if there was enough evidence, because we talked about elsewhere in Brickhill that we would want some cameras. And I remember that it was a conversation about the only places you would have been with evidence. And if they're the speed cam, the ones, and then I think we spoke about and we're given the examples of the ones by Patno and how they worked, because we're talking about if they just had two cameras on each end, that wouldn't work. But also it was about, I think we were speaking about the death that happened. I think it was after the death that happened on Brickhill Drive that we started talking about this issue. I wasn't in support of it, I remember that, but in terms of something that we discussed, we did debate it fully. I can't remember whether we put it in the newsletter as well, because that was one of the things that we needed to do, was consult the public about the cameras. And I can't remember whether we did put it in the newsletter at the time, because we needed to ask the people on Brickhill Drive whether it was something that they approved of. And I'm trying to go back on that in my memory serves. And I think we had people who did turn up to a parish council meeting to talk about it. I don't know if Morris is on the call
no,
to be
he's
able to
not here tonight. He's not here
because
tonight.
he would know, because I think there was people who weren't happy about it, you know, in terms of having the cameras there. So I do remember, because I think it's about 4 years ago or so that we did speak about this, but as something that was going to happen and looking at the best possible scenario, it was about trying to have 3 cameras. And I think we did put some money in the reserves to counter that and to be part of that once it was agreed that we were going to go ahead. I mean, it's not something I'm for, but it's something that is needed. I don't know what the evidence for Patno, how it's reduced speeding or what it's done for speeding, but I still remember Sue talking about the fact that people in Milton Ernest weren't happy about the speed cameras there because it made it difficult for people coming off the side roads. So that's my memory I have of talking about speed cameras. I don't know if this will help Paula in terms of what we've done in the past about it, but I do remember us having a debate and us having to go and speak to the public about it, but it was mostly the residents on Brickhill Drive who were consulted. I don't think we did a whole Brickhill one, but I can't remember if it was in the Brickhill news at the time as well. So, you know, we've got records of the newsletters that we can double check this, but I think it did go out to the community. But it was something that some people are happy with, but quite a few people weren't happy with. But I think the evidence came from, and the police supported it, and the borough had done some work around this as well. And they were putting some of the money, or there was money from the government towards this. So I don't know if my recollection is correct, but that's my understanding.
Okay, so the only money that's come into this is from the parish council and from the borough council's ward fund. That's the sum total. It will come from those 2 sources. Most of it's coming from the parish council. And I'm pretty certain we have, I'm certainly being publicised, and I think there is evidence to say this is one of the most difficult streets within Bedford in terms of speeding. So, you know, in terms of motivation for it, there's a lot of justification for it. There's a lot of justification. I mean, what I say is I'm absolutely convinced that when I see the traffic through Milton Ernest and also along
Mark,
through...
Your mic has gone again.
Now.
Sorry, Sue.
We can't hear you very clearly, sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry, this is really funny. I'm just saying that in terms of what I see in Milton Ernest and also in Wellington, the impact of having average speed camera signs is quite dramatic compared to how things were before in both areas before those signs were.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry I can't. I'm just saying it is effective at controlling speed.
Mark, I think there is something wrong with your microphone. Perhaps if you have a play with that, I'll just make a couple of comments, because we have had some things said which just aren't true. First of all, the police do support the cameras going into Brickhill Drive, and they will enforce them. There's no way on earth that the Borough Council would be paying for average speed cameras for which they get no income whatsoever if the police were not going to enforce. So that's really important. In terms of Milton Ernest, they were the first parish that wanted average speed cameras, and they went in there first of all before they went in anywhere else, and it was transformational in terms of the change of life for people who lived in Milton Ernest. From having traffic speeding through Milton Ernest, all of a sudden traffic reduced in speed. And so they were wholly and utterly supportive of it. So I remember the chair of the parish council doing an article with me for the Sunday Telegraph. So that's really important to understand. And because of the success of average speed cameras across the borough, we've now got a list of about 80 different sites which are requesting average speed cameras. So these are something that are desperately wanted by communities, and councillors are putting their ward funds towards it. And parish councils are fully funding some average speed cameras. Now, those are the facts, and lots of parish councils have already allocated money, and as soon as the borough can catch up with the waiting list, they will be putting cameras in those wards, so that they're exceptionally effective, and they're very much desired by all the parish councillors who've requested them. And I think we've probably got requests in every parish and across the urban area of Bedford.
Okay. Mick, do you want to come in, please?
Yeah. Just a couple of quick things. Charlie, you just said about the I'm paraphrasing here, but about the borough making any money of it. I thought all the money went direct to central government. And also, if we did delay a decision a month, what likely effects is that going to have on the time frame of them being installed anyway? You know, as there's so many on the waiting list, how far are we up or down the waiting list, basically?
I can't tell you that. You know, I'm sorry if I didn't make it clear. The Borough Council receives no income whatsoever from average speed cameras. They're not done to make money. They're done because communities desperately want them, because they have such a positive effect on the communities in terms of slowing traffic. And if you go and speak to people who live on Putney Lane, for example, you'll find that the traffic has reduced in speed dramatically. Now, with a reduction in speed comes a reduction in accidents. Those are just factual statements. It's not my point of view. That's the way it is. Now, I can't tell you what the impact will be in terms of installation, but the borough works with a supplier who supplies the equipment. They have to try and get the equipment from other countries. Wendy and I have been waiting for about 2.5 years now for our speed indicator devices from Siemens. So it's exceptionally difficult to get hold of the equipment with the COVID crisis and what's going on. So I can't tell you what the impact will be, but I would urge us to get on and do it, because I think whilst we have the opportunity, it'd be foolhardy not to take advantage of it.
Thank you, Charlie. Can you hear me okay now? Is this any better?
Better.
Okay, great. So we need to decide: do we wish to go ahead now, or do we wish to wait a month and in that month publicise it further and try and chase the police for confirmation that they will definitely enforce this scheme if it's built? That's the choice, I think.
Well, I think Charles has confirmed that the police are engaged and have made that statement, although we haven't seen it in an email. So as far as I'm concerned, we already decided to do it. And I think we've allocated the funds, so I don't really see the point in waiting another month, because it's been about 1.5 years already, and that wasn't even the first time it was talked about. No, so I'd be happy to proceed.
I think if I can try and reassure Paula, I understand where you're coming from about consultation. It's a question of sometimes we have to decide which bits are specifically relevant to consult on and which ones we're okay to make a decision. So is this, why, the basic question I suppose you have to ask is, why would anybody be against this? Is it, so it's a choice. And I think we are at the tail end of this process, and I appreciate you've only joined us very recently. And I guess I would just ask for your forbearance on this one and say, okay, I hear where you're coming from, but can we go ahead and just try and get this underway? So because it will have an impact on traffic speed within Brickhill Drive and hopefully Waverton Avenue in that way.
Chairman, can I just say there's been quite a few emails recently saying that this should have happened by now, and residents will be very angry if these cameras are not put in soon. They were expected to be in by now, and please can we just get on with it? That's what the emails have said. And that, I'm assuming, I think one of the ladies concerned I can see is present tonight. There may be others that are here, but certainly I've seen those emails to say that. So, you know,
Okay.
I'm just
Yeah,
letting you know what I've heard.
Sorry, my hand's still up. Yeah, I'll confirm. I've been contacted as well, and asked a similar question. What's happening with them?
Are we okay, therefore, to go ahead, please, and just?
Yes,
you know,
please.
I am. Yeah.
Is that all right,
Anybody
Paula?
against? Anybody not in favour? No?
I'm going to take.
Okay, so I'll go back then to Alan Bowles to say you've approved the scheme. I will then arrange to put it on the website so people can see the 3 cameras, because there are 3, aren't there? And then to just confirm with Alan Bowles that what he said was not quite correct, the idea that the police needed to come back first, okay?
Sure. Now, thank you, great. Now I'm conscious of the time. We're now nearly 2 hours into our meeting, and I'm trying to stick within our normal rule of having a 2-hour meeting maximum, because we will start fading away. For item 11, for the Bedford Freight Strategy document, can we hold that off to our next meeting? Is that acceptable to everybody?
There is information to come back from Andrew Prigmore about what the planning conditions for the new distribution centre is. So maybe by next meeting we can have got that.
Okay, can we? So would everyone happy to defer the item to next?
Could I just chip something in very quickly, Mark, on that one? My thinking really on that was to think about, for the next meeting, a nighttime HGV vehicle ban in Brickhill. So I'll just chuck that in, and we'll park that and come back to it next time.
We'll move on. Okay, thank you, Alistair. So item number 12, if I may, is to receive an update on the upgrade of the Motorway Walk play area. So we've circulated.
That'll be really quick.
Yeah, of course.
I've circulated everything in the email. For anybody who isn't aware, this is Moresbury Walk play area behind St Mark's. We've taken it over in January. We're looking to upgrade it within a budget of about £24,000. The plan is to put in 3 new pieces of equipment, replace the swings, that's 2 sets of swings, replace the climbing net that's there, and obviously redo the surfacing. We had 4,000. We have 4,000 in the budget already. We've this year, which I want agreement to move to next year, because obviously we're now into next year because it's now the 1st. So that's 4,000. We'd already agreed in the past 20,000. And then, of course, as these things always are, you always want that little bit extra. You think, oh, if we could just do that. The fact of the matter is, we've got a gate. One of the gates is not part of this project, but we have got to replace it, because it's split and can't be welded, which is almost £1,500. So what I'm looking for is agreement to go ahead. Now, we've got 3 quotes. The company we've used in the past that we've been happy with the work is RPM. They've done the work at Waveney Green. They do work elsewhere for me in other areas. They're slightly more expensive than the cheapest. The cheapest, I wasn't too happy with, because originally they were very, very cheap. They came back and they're now still cheap, but not quite as cheap. So I'm not completely convinced about what the work's going to be like. And so I really wanted agreement to go ahead with RPM, which will cost us about 3,000 more than we planned. But a lot of that is the gate and the signage, which was never part of the project really. And there is money in reserve at the minute for it. It would just see quite a lot of that project done, I think.
Can I formally propose that, please, so we can at least get that work underway, because it will that area does need some work. This work is needed.
Seconded.
Everyone happy with that?
Anybody not? It's easier to.
Yeah.
No, okay. Not? Who's not? Okay.
I think we're all happy with that. Thank you very much. Item 13, to receive an update on the BPHA plans to replace the garage blocks in Mallard Hill and Rooksmead with houses.
Yeah.
And I think, Sue, you've put included in your notes response from them. They have written to residents, and basically residents are happy that things have been done to enhance the area. Plan application being submitted for Rooksmead, and Mallard Hill is due to be submitted next week. That was dated 19th of March, so it may have been in by now. I don't know. I don't know if we received the Mallard Hill one as well. So,
not yet, no.
And they're saying if we have any further questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. Mark Browning, the project delivery manager for BPHA.
Okay.
Can we note that? Everyone happy to note that? Thank you very much. Planting, item 14. I'm going to defer this one as well, if I may, because I know we're very short on time. We talk about planting next month, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Annual parish meeting, item 15. It's on the 21st of April.
Can I just say really quickly, this isn't a parish council meeting. Parish council is a group, as any other group or school is, and it's just an opportunity for groups, schools, churches, just to come to the meeting and just say what they've been doing. Parish council does it the same. I'm just making this point that it's not a public meeting about East West Rail for parish council again. It is just, we would say what we've done during the year, plans for next year, and so on. I'm hoping we've got quite a few groups willing to come. So I'm waiting to hear Tommy Moore, actually. I don't know if Paula can chivvy that on for us. I've heard from
in the Easter holidays.
Well, I know the other schools are coming. I know Anita will be coming from Scott, and Brickhill Lower will be coming. So yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much. So any groups who want to come along, just please tell Sue, and we'll squeeze in a few minutes for you. Item 16, correspondence has been circulated the list separately. Can we just pick up on one particular point, which is about the end of virtual meetings? We've had a response from Richard Fuller, or via Richard Fuller's assistant. We've obviously highlighted the fact that after whatever the date is in May, there's no legal powers to allow us to meet virtually. So despite the fact that many people still not be totally vaccinated, and there's still this idea of having social distancing, I don't see how, for instance, tonight, how could we have a social distance meeting like this with this many members of the public present? I just don't see how that could happen in a safe way. That's why we brought the annual parish meeting forward to the date in April, so we can do it safely. But we are faced with problems after the 6th of May, I think. Is that fair to say, Sue?
Yeah, as you say, there's been no agreement by the government to move this, the permission on. I think it's a big problem for parishes who meet in very small rooms, lots do, and that I don't know how they'll manage. But SLCC, that's the Society of Local Council Clerks, they have asked that we write in to try and get some support for virtual meetings, because they've been in some ways a good thing generally, because more people have taken part in parish council meetings as a result of Zoom and other things than ever can come to a meeting in a village hall somewhere. And so there's been a lot of there's been a lot of support for that, not purely to come back. So I will write and see if we can extend it, because I think a lot of people wanted to extend it probably till the autumn at the earliest, really, by which time most people have been vaccinated, and hopefully, assuming we're not locked down again with another variant, we'll all be back to sort of normal, really.
Yeah.
I can see Paula's got.
Yeah, just as a point in the letter, Sue, is it worth making the point that since we've been virtual, we've had much more public engagement, and that has to be a win-win for us, and to continue to push for that. If I know there's rules about it, etc., but let's put our mantle behind the idea of keeping them virtual.
Well, I think we'll struggle unless the legislation, because it's a legal thing about meeting in public. We can't meet in a pub. There's certain rules about where we can meet in public. Can't just meet anywhere. But the trouble is, there is also a set of people who come to me and say, it's not right now. I don't take part in technology. I can't access Zoom. I don't have that technology. And now we're not got a public meeting we can just poodle along to and raise our issues. So, it's a double-edged thing, really. But yeah, I mean, I think there's good things to be said for it. So I will write and say that. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So it's now 9:31. I'm going to suggest.
Sorry, Mark, there's some things on there, aren't there, correspondence, where someone has asked for something to be brought to a future meeting. So I think you need to decide not necessarily to discuss it, but whether it's going to move on to another meeting.
Yeah, anything outstanding will be, excuse me, let's defer it to the main meeting. I'm sort of I appreciate East West Rail is people's top priority for many residents. So that's why we're devoting the time to it. But we somehow or other, we need to find time to talk about those other things as well. And it's trying to get, it's trying to find a spot in our agendas when we can talk about other things as well. So I think, yes, let's agree. Other points that have been raised with us, we will come back to that at our next meeting. We'll try and make sure we find time for that, if that's okay. So, so just to that's correspondence, and then the I can't read it. So it's over the bottom of the
Sorry.
It's over the bottom of the agenda. What item 17 is?
It's going to be to review outstanding matters. I can see somebody's asked me the question, and I'm going to say that is the case. Whether one of those items of correspondence that person has written in asking from a future meeting, that is one of the things that will be going on a future meeting. Yes.
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay. Right. Yeah. That's fine.
Thank you.
So any other outstanding matters? Well, that's probably me again, isn't it?
Anything else that's urgent?
So, I mean, the thing is that future police attendance, of course, we're struggling with that, aren't we? We've got a new inspector, and so he's asked me to give him every date that we've got, and he will try and come, but they will not be able to commit to it. And then beyond that, I know that Councillor Rani has asked for about this issue of bins. I think just be specific with me where those need to be. I can see one is we're asking for one near the post box at Angelita Court. The other one you said at the entrance to Woodlands. Is there a litter issue at the entrance to Woodlands?
Somewhere towards the entrance of Woodlands.
So near the little notice board, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no bin there.
I mean, we can ask. Yeah, I can ask. The reality is whether, we can pay for them, but the borough have got to agree to empty them.
It's the emptying.
It's the emptying that's the problem. So I have raised the one at Angelita Court with James Lynch at the borough. So I will go back and ask if there's a possibility for 2 bins. And I suppose the parish council will have to be willing to pay for those, about £600 each. They're not going to be cheap. I can see my hand up.
So it's not going to be near Angelita Court. It's going to be on Ashmead Road near the
opposite Angelita.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Near the board.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Sue.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Mick.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think the problem is with litter as they're coming into the estate is people chucking it out of their car windows as they're driving in. I mean, you're talking takeaway stuff and cans and that sort of thing,
Yeah.
So I'm not sure people would solve that problem unless they're a very good shot as they drive past.
I did, by the way, I did see a borough council litter picker the other day at the entrance to Ashmead Road, busy, collecting litter around that area. So thank you to the borough for doing that.
Right, I know there is a Woodlands Park resident. I don't know whether he still does, but he used to regularly go and pick litter up around there. So
I think it was.
Well done to him if he happens to be tuned in.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the other things to do with Ashmead Woodlands Park. The large pond, you remember saying it needed clearing and tidying, and there was a ring, the life ring was missing, and the smaller pond, the danger signs and no fishing are missing. Yeah. I've raised those with environmental services through the reported site on the borough. They've come back and said they'll investigate and see what they can do. So
thank you.
That's that one. And then beyond
sorry, can I just butt in again? There have been a few locations, a few times recently where it's been reported to me about youth fishing in the pond, in the 2 ponds. I mean, obviously it's illegal anyway, and it's the closed fishing season as well. Besides anything else, I did report it to the borough, and also about the life rings and the no fishing signs being missing. But so far, I've not had a reply.
No,
I think it's the right person, but.
Right.
Well, I've done the same. The only thing we can do is really report it on the reported site.
Right.
That's what we can do, isn't it, really?
So, I mean, that's all part of the maintenance. I view that as being part of the maintenance of the country park, because that walkway through the middle, and around the ponds, it's all part of the country park. So whoever's managing the country park, they should be, perhaps we need to liaise directly with them. I don't quite know how that's managed. whether it's done in sort of piecemeal fashion or whether there's, if you like, I know times are tight at the borough, you know, Charlie, I'm sure you'll, and Wendy, I'm sure you'll come on this, but in the same way that Priory Country Park is managed, for instance, is there an equivalent person who's got that overall view and management responsibility for the way the country park is being run in North Brickhill?
Yes, Mark, there is, and I'll find out what's happened to the requests which have been made and why they haven't been followed up.
Thank you, Charlie. That's great.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Sudesh. Sue, is there anything else, or can we?
Well, it's down to you, Vince, and was it Michael, to meet up and look at
Yeah,
this?
I've been trying to contact Vince, and
Right.
yeah, but I was double checking with Vince's availability, and then I was going to reach out to Michael and Sudesh to confirm a date when we can try and have a wander around, try and understand the issue about the steps there near the Green Gym. I was hoping to do it this Sunday, but it's Vince's grandmother's birthday or something like that, so not possible. So okay, yeah. So I'd like to. I think that's the end of the meeting. Item 18. Date of the next meeting is the 6th of May, which makes our next formal meeting. And so hopefully we'll have more things to talk about then, no doubt, on East West Rail and some of the items we've held over from today. I hope that's all right. And thank you very much indeed for attending, and thanks members of the public as well.
Thank you. Can I just ask Catherine if she can respond to my message? We need to meet up to talk about the audit, and we obviously missed each other. So hopefully she's still listening in, and we'll come back
still
to
on the
me.
call.
Yes, okay, right. Okay, I
Thanks
shall end the
all.
meeting.
Okay,
Yeah.
stuff. Good night, everybody.
Thank
Goodbye.
you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.